Hello, buenos dias to mi amigos. We are here in Mexico to have the Mexican Grand Prix for the Slav Racing League, third race of the season, and Graham Shifty was the first man to set a time in qualifying. Then comes K9 Cube, who came after Bernolds to set a 1:16.5. No one could really beat Graham Shifty until his teammate came along to set that barnstormer of a lap. But that didn't last long because Luco Siux comes out of nowhere, and the man who is potentially a championship contender in this season's championship against this man, he took pole position for a long time until Randro set the pole time that wasn't going to get beaten anytime soon. Meanwhile, Bernolds, the underdog, he was struggling in this session for rear tyre grip, as you can see him spinning on the exit of turn 5 and going over the grass over turn 6, and then that wasn't the end of it, because on the exit of the last corner, when he was up on his lap by a lot, he spins again, and that could have potentially put him ahead of Arimus, but he did spin and lose all that time. But meanwhile, Graham Shifty is ahead of Arimus, and not just that, he's ahead of a couple more cars now because he's up into P3 with a great and encouraging lap for the Sauber driver. But Arimus claps back and comes up to P4 right behind him, and the top 3 separated by under 1/10 of a second, and the top 2 separated by just over 1/2 of a second, which is very close indeed. But that's the qualifying order. What about the race order? Well, you're about to find out in 5 lights time. We are away for the Slav Racing Mexican Grand Prix. It's a decent start from Graham Shifty, and it's a terrible start for Arimus, who is dropping like a pin on this start, as he has not been able to get off the line well, and he's lost 3 positions before he even gets to the first corner, and he goes wide. So it gets even worse for the V-Cub driver, who's in 3rd in the championship but 12th by the time he gets to turn 2. Meanwhile, the midfield battle is going crazy as Bryce is falling down the order. He's got passed by Half Lap Harry, passed by Smidge Bomb, and now here comes Graham Shifty. He's under pressure from Half Lap Harry as well. So both Saubers in the second phase of the start looking under threat, but Graham Shifty holds off Half Lap Harry, and Amin Suki has gone past Bryce in a great start for the Williams driver. So as they head through the S's section, that is the order in the mid part of lap 1. Here the Haas drivers then continue in their battles from Brazil, as we have K9 Cube behind Ollie Leds in P10 and 11th, a lot more cleaner than the last lap of the Brazilian Grand Prix last time out. Graham Shifty had a very competent start, only losing 1 position, but he was struggling for rear grip in the S's, and it resulted in this spin for the Sauber driver on the medium tyres. He knocks the wall, nearly damaged his front wing, and had to rejoin to the track to make a bit of a recovery. Meanwhile, the lead battle was going off, and after Luco Siux took the lead on the start, Randro took it back. Meanwhile, these 4 would turn into a 3 because as they exit the last corner, Bernolds again would spin on the final corner and end up in the pit entrance lane, which is not ideal at all for him. Meanwhile, the Haas battle rages on as K9 Cube finally gets ahead of Ollie Leds in the other Haas. Bryce and Amansuki were battling, but Bryce couldn't get back past, and Bryce became the first man to pick up a penalty in the race. Meanwhile, Luco Siux took the lead back from Randro and files his way through turn 5 on lap 5 in P1. And Randro now looking to maybe come back at him the next lap round. Meanwhile, Amansuki here was struggling as he had on the inside of him Graham Shifty, who overtook him on the inside of the pit entrance, but didn't come into the pits himself. It was very, very robust stuff, I have to say so myself, between Shifty and Suki. Meanwhile, here's the Haas battling a Mercedes as K9 Cube caught up to Luke Anarchy, and the 2 former teammates battled it out before Anarchy fell behind K9 Cube as they head round the 6th corner on the track. Meanwhile, on lap 8, Half Lap Harry finally caught up to the back of Randro, who was dropping back at the end of his stint on the medium tyres, and it resulted in Half Lap Harry going up to the front into P2, and now he's chasing for the lead of the race. Meanwhile, K9 Cube got ahead of Graham Shifty as he became the first man to pit, but Shifty would spin on the pit lane entry, so more pit entry drama for the Sauber driver as he went into P9 after originally pitting from P7, but he's in the pits now, all safe and sound. Meanwhile, as Randro came out the pits, he came out in a bit of a pickle because Amansuki and Smidgebomb came out right in between Randro, or Randro came in between them two, should I say, as round the outside for Smidgebomb. They battled on the pit lane exit and into turn 1, as Randro was held off by Smidgebomb, making contact on turn 2 even, and nearly damaging the wing of the potential championship winner, as he's leading the championship so far, but he's battling the man who is in the lead of the race at the moment here on lap 13. But will he be in the lead by the end? Not too sure, but Amansuki barging Randro nearly off the track there as they head round turn 6. Later on then, lap 14, Luko Siux came into the pits, and he came out in the same battle. Smidgebomb, Randro, who danced to the inside to get past his championship contender, and he was looking to get back past Smidgebomb as well, but Smidgebomb hung around the outside and is now ahead of both championship contenders, and Amansuki as well, so both championship contenders struggling in the midfield. On the exit of their pit stops is on the grass for Randro on the inside of turn 4, locking up a break into turn 4 and 5, as Smidgebomb holding off the championship leader as much as he can, as the championship leader goes off the track in order to not hit the Aston Martin. But even after all of that, they're still in the same order they came out of turn 3 in. Meanwhile, Randro again has a go at Smidgebomb, but Smidgebomb, he's going to try and do the same thing and just hang it around the outside at turn 1 and then have the inside for turn 2, but Randro saw that coming, hung it around the outside and took it at turn 3. But now he has the DRS to pull away, and now here comes Luko Siux, who's going to dart around the outside of the Aston Martin and follow Randro up into P5. And Smidgebomb going down the order, his defence of the Championship 2 comes to an end. Meanwhile, here comes Half-Lap Harry, passing the K9 Cube in the Haas car, but the Haas, as well as Arimus, both hadn't pit yet at this point, so they were staying out on an alternate strategy, which would see them make a 2-stop in this race, rather than other people making a 1-stop. Here's Smidgebomb then, who's heading into turn 1 behind this battle, as Luko Siux passed Randro heading into turn 1, and Randro now into P4, Luko Siux into P3, and Half-Lap Harry got a 10-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane, which would hinder him later on in the race. Meanwhile, Randro gets ahead of Luko Siux and takes the lead of the race at the halfway marker of the Mexican Grand Prix. Meanwhile, Arimus, who came into the pits a lap before this, is now right behind them, and he was even closer to them when he dispatched of the Aston Martin, separating the two V-carbs. So Luko Siux now had a bit of an issue because his teammate was catching him, but unless he could get this move done, which he can't, he's going to have a bit of an issue because he can't hold up his teammate, but he also can't not let Randro get too far away, so it's a bit of a pickle for the V-carb team here on lap 19. But heading up into turn 4, he's going to try around the outside, nearly make contact with the McLaren. He does make contact slightly, but not make the move. But heading into turn 6 then, he would see in his mirrors his teammate bearing down his diffuser. As they head on to lap 20 then, we have Graham Shifty and K9 Cube. K9 Cube had pit at this point. This was his second lap out. And look at the racecraft of this. Graham Shifty gets a bit spooked by K9 Cube going for that move. And K9 goes around the outside at turn 5 and round turn 6 as well to make the move beautifully stick and take himself up into P9. And the Saubers, who look to be battling the V-carbs in this race, are now down battling with the Hasses after the pit stop cycle. And this was further emphasised after Ollie Leds and Bryus went wheel to wheel heading into turn 1. And then Graham Shifty went back round the outside of K9 Cube on the same time as well. So Bryus and Shifty now both ahead of at least one Haas car on lap 23, but how much longer would that stay for? Because down the inside comes K9 Cube again. Will he scare off Graham Shifty for another lap? Not this time. So he has to stay behind for now, but maybe he can catch up later on. Meanwhile, Bryce has fully pulled away from Psycho Leds, but now he's catching up to K9 Cube, who is one of only 4 drivers at this point to have not got a penalty, as Arimus comes into the pits for the second time in this race to complete the other third of this race on another set of medium tyres. Meanwhile, his teammate Luco Siux was looking to battle for what would have been the lead of the race, but he nearly spun on the exit of the stadium section, and that could have potentially cost him the win. But with 10 laps to go, all was to play for, even in the midfield, because Bryce was to the inside of the other Haas of K9 Cube and getting ahead of the other Ferrari powered car. So the Toyota Haas losing out to the Sauber Audi. As round the outside for the Benolds as well, so another German car passing a Haas. Round the outside for Amin Suki, who made a beautiful move there at turn 7. And then Bryce here looking to get ahead of the Mercedes of Anarchy, and they collide. So Bryce loses a bit of his front wing, which goes bouncing along the track on the left-hand side of the picture. And now Benalte looks to catch up to Psycho Leds. Struggled on the exit and puts it in the wall, and that caused the only full course yellow in this race. Meanwhile, Luco Siux heading into turn 1, lap 32 or 36, takes the lead of the race into turn 1, unless Randro could do that. Come right back at him heading into turn 2 and 3, and keep the lead of the race here in Mexico. Now, you might be thinking, well, they're battling for second, yes, but look at the penalty for the man in front, half-lap Harry. So he would end up losing out to Luco and Randro at this point in the race if the gap stayed like that. He would be ahead of Arimus at this point though, which would be nice for him because Arimus does have a 3-second penalty himself. As round the outside for Randro again, and the same thing that happened on lap 32 happened again on lap 34. As Randro was able to yet again successfully defend against his championship protagonist. But around the outside for Luco Siux, that is indefensible for Randro in that case. So Luco did take the lead of the race again, not until Randro was looking for the move again, but no, Luco held him off, and on the final lap, it was half-lap Harry who would be the first man to complete the race, but he wouldn't keep that win, because Luco Siux would come out the final corner and be the first man to win outside of Randro. Then came Arimus, who did get half-lap Harry in the end because he was able to close up enough to capitalise on the penalty. Then came half-lap Harry because of his penalty. Then came Smidgebomb, who was able to redeem himself after being completely wiped out in Brazil. He was able to come back here in Mexico and get the points that he lost in that last round. Then came Amin Suki, who after one of the most adventurous Brazilian Grand Prix I've ever seen from this man, he had a very calm and collective Mexican Grand Prix to take P6 ahead of Bryce, who had a pretty decent race, and then there was contact at the end between Graham Shifty and Luke Anarchy. Anarchy trying to battle the man who replaced him at Sauber, but Shifty now comes out the final corner, and will he finish ahead of Anarchy? No, he won't, because he spins over the line, and Anarchy does get ahead of him because of the penalty, more likely, but also because of the spin. And then came K9 Cube and Psycho Leds, who would complete the top 11, should I say. So the Haas cars were the last ones to finish, apart from Benolds, who was a lap down. And that was the end of an incredible Mexican Grand Prix. Thank you all ever so much for watching. And goodbye.